In space, astronauts float in perfect silence, protected by thin suits. But plunge 6 kilometers beneath the ocean, and you face crushing pressures 1,000 times stronger, darkness that no star pierces, and cold that drains the life from steel. Here, the deep ocean becomes an invisible enemy, attacking from every direction. If even a single seal fails, nothing survives. Why do the world's deepest waters remain deadlier than space itself? And what does it take for anything to endure down here? At 6,000 meters below the ocean surface, pressure surpasses 1,000 atmospheres, more than 16,000 pounds per square inch. This force doesn't just push down from above. It presses inward from every direction, wrapping around a vessel like an invisible fist. For comparison, a spacecraft in orbit faces a pressure difference of only 1 atmosphere, about 14.7 pounds per square inch, between its interior and the vacuum outside. Deep-sea engineers must account for a crushing load more than 1,000 times greater, and it never lets up. Every additional 10 meters of descent adds another full atmosphere, so the deeper you go, the more relentless the squeeze becomes. At the very bottom, in places like Challenger Deep, the pressure reaches 1,106 atmospheres, enough to flatten steel like foil. Ordinary materials collapse instantly. Only titanium spheres, with walls several inches thick, have survived these depths. Liu, a leading submersible designer, describes the trade-off. Thicker hulls mean safety, but also enormous weight and cramped interiors. Unlike spacecraft, where thin shells suffice, deep-sea explorers must travel inside heavy, precision-forged capsules, built to keep the ocean at bay, every second of the journey. Below 1,000 meters, sunlight disappears entirely, leaving the Hadal Zone in a state of permanent night. Unlike the emptiness of space, where stars and distant planets offer some sense of orientation, the deep ocean is a black void. No glimmer, no horizon, just endless darkness pressing in from every direction. Submersibles must rely on their own lights, yet even these beams vanish into the black within a few meters. Navigation becomes guesswork, and any equipment failure or hull breach remains hidden until alarms sound or systems fail. Marine biologist Dr. Vega once described the experience as being inside a closed eyelid, where only the faint blue-green flashes of bioluminescent creatures break the monotony. This absolute darkness compounds the psychological strain on crews, amplifying the sense of isolation and uncertainty. Temperatures in the Hadal Zone hover just above freezing, between 1 and 4 degrees Celsius. Water in this realm conducts heat away from bodies and machines 25 times faster than air. Batteries drain rapidly, steel becomes brittle, and even the thickest insulation struggles to keep life support systems running. A sudden loss of heat would mean hypothermia in minutes, not hours. Every task, from piloting to repairs, becomes a race against the cold. In this sensory vacuum, darkness and freezing temperatures work together, creating an environment where both mind and machine are pushed to their limits. Saltwater in the Hadal Zone is not just cold and dark, it's chemically aggressive. Every surface, seam, and circuit faces an unending assault from chloride ions, which attack metals and electronics at the molecular level. Even titanium, chosen for its resistance, is not immune. It corrodes far more slowly than steel, but over time, even the best alloys surrender. For traditional steel, the loss can reach 0.2 millimeters per year, a pace that would eat through a soda can in months. Under crushing pressure, saltwater finds its way into the tiniest imperfections, microscopic cracks, pinholes in seals, hairline weld flaws. Once inside, the results are catastrophic. At these depths, a breach just a fraction of a millimeter wide can unleash a jet of water moving at more than 150,000 kilograms per second, instantly destroying electronics and flooding compartments. Lou warns that there's no such thing as an underwater patch job here. Any failure means a slow, hours-long return to the surface, if the vessel can even make it. Unlike the chemically inert vacuum of space, the deep ocean is always working to corrode, infiltrate, and destroy, turning every dive into a race against invisible decay. In June 2023, the Titan submersible began its descent toward the wreck of the Titanic, carrying 5 people in a carbon fiber and titanium vessel. At roughly 3,800 meters, where the outside pressure neared 450 atmospheres, over 6,600 pounds per square inch, the hull failed catastrophically, a crushing event. Forensic analysis later revealed a flaw in the carbon fiber structure, likely worsened by repeated dives and the relentless squeeze of the deep. The implosion occurred in less than 40 milliseconds. There was no warning, no chance for reaction. Every air pocket inside collapsed instantly, compressing the vessel's contents to a fraction of their original volume. Emily Hart, a forensic engineer who studied the debris, described the hull's failure as a single, unzipping event. A tiny defect, invisible from the outside, became a fatal weakness under crushing pressure. The titanium end domes separated cleanly, while the carbon fiber cylinder fragmented into thousands of pieces. For the occupants, death was instantaneous. No time for panic, no hope for survival. Even if the hull had held, the reality of deep-sea rescue remains unchanged. Titan's life support system was rated for 96 hours, but any emergency would have required a 4-hour ascent to the surface. At these depths, there are no rescue vehicles capable of reaching a stranded submersible in time. Unlike space missions, where backup plans and rapid returns are possible, the deep ocean offers no second chances. The Titan disaster makes clear that in the Hadal zone, a single failure ends all possibility of rescue. The ocean's grip is absolute. Radio waves, the backbone of spacecraft communication, vanish almost instantly in seawater. At a depth of 11,000 meters, more than 99% of radio signals are lost within a few feet. Deep-sea crews must rely on acoustic modems, which convert data into sound pulses that crawl through the water at a pace measured in bits per second. Even the most advanced systems, like those used on Challenger deep missions, top out at around 2 kilobits per second, thousands of times slower than 5 megabits per second, routinely achieved by the International Space Station in low Earth orbit. Every message is delayed by at least 2 seconds, and the signal is easily garbled by echoes, shifting currents, or the songs of distant whales. For Commander Alex Ramirez, who piloted one of the few crewed dives into the Mariana Trench, the silence was more than technical. He described the experience as being buried under miles of stone, shouting for help and knowing no one can hear you. In space, astronauts can speak to mission control, stream live video, and receive real-time instructions. On the ocean floor, a simple status update may take minutes to confirm, and complex troubleshooting is nearly impossible. Even distress signals can be swallowed by the acoustic chaos of the deep, where thermal vents and biological chatter fill the water with unpredictable noise. This isolation turns every emergency into a solitary struggle. If a system fails or a hull breach develops, there is no way to call for immediate help. No team of experts ready to talk a crew through a crisis. The ocean's deepest reaches are a world apart, not just physically, but in the total absence of support when it matters most. Hydrothermal vents in the Hadal zone blast superheated water at temperatures above 400 degrees Celsius, enough to melt most metals and cripple even the toughest submersibles. Methane seeps dot the seafloor, releasing up to 15 million tons of methane each year, sometimes in sudden bursts that can destabilize a sub's buoyancy or trigger underwater landslides. The terrain itself is anything but stable. Trenches shift, slopes collapse, and the landscape can change overnight, all beyond the reach of detailed maps. life here is no less unpredictable. Giant amphipods, some over 30 centimeters long, swarm in the darkness. Creatures so alien that their impact on equipment is still unknown. Dr. Vega once described watching a lander vanish into a vent plume, swallowed by forces no one could anticipate. In the Hadal Zone, the unknown isn't just a scientific curiosity. It's a constant, unpredictable threat. 12 people have left footprints on the moon, but only 3 have ever reached the deepest point of the ocean, Challenger Deep. This isn't because the ocean is less interesting or less vital. It's a matter of funding. In a typical year, the U.S. Office of Ocean Exploration and Research receives just $25 million, about 0.1% of NASA's annual budget. Space missions attract billions, while deep ocean expeditions struggle for scraps. The result is a map of our own planet that's mostly blank. More than 70% of the seafloor remains unmapped at high resolution, and the Hadal Trenches, Earth's deepest, most dangerous places, are almost entirely unexplored. With so little investment, the most hostile environment on Earth remains the least understood and the least visited by humans. Today, only 3 people have reached the ocean's deepest point, while 12 have walked on the moon. As funding and curiosity flow skyward, Earth's greatest extreme remains largely untouched. The next frontier isn't out there. It's still waiting, silent and unseen, just beneath the waves. What would you explore first?